Tonight, the case is not about a statute or a docket. It is about who the enforcement machine is now reaching, and I want to be precise, because the precision is the point. An Associated Press review reported by PBS found that more than 50 spouses and parents of active-duty United States service members have been detained by immigration enforcement. Not veterans, not applicants. The husbands, wives, and parents of people wearing the uniform right now. 6 of those families have already been deported. At least 8 people are still being held. This is the crackdown reaching into the households the military itself depends on. Start with what this does to the mission, in the words of a soldier living it. Army Sergeant Hedar Leonel Turcios Juarez had his wife detained. Here is what he asked, on the record. "How can I even focus on my military career because I have to worry about how my wife is doing?" Sit with that question, because it is not rhetorical. A service member on active duty, distracted by a spouse in a detention cell, is a readiness problem the instant it happens. And by this count, it is happening to more than 50 families at the same time. The uniform did not exempt them. It made the cost land twice. So what changed, and when? For decades, across administrations of both parties, the practice was to leave these families alone. That is not my characterization. It is the account of a man who ran this exact function inside the agency. Dan Gividen served as ICE's deputy chief counsel from 2016 to 2019, under this same president's first term, and he now represents the father of a soldier held in custody. His words: "We would not place them into removal proceedings, period. That's insane." The man who used to make these calls is telling you the calls being made now are the ones his own office refused to make. Now the government's answer, in full, because on this desk, the other side always gets its words on the board. The Department of Homeland Security's statement: DHS and ICE value the contributions of all those who have served in the U.S. military. U.S. military service alone does not automatically grant lawful immigration status or exempt aliens from the consequences of violating U.S. immigration laws. That is the department's position, stated plainly, and you should weigh it honestly. It says service does not erase an immigration violation. Fair enough. But notice what the sentence quietly concedes. The people being detained are, by the department's own framing, tied to military service. The dispute is not whether they are, it is whether that should matter. And these 50-plus active-duty families are not the whole picture. They sit next to a second, larger group, and I am keeping them separate on purpose, so the numbers stay honest. Over roughly the past year, the same review counts 125 military veterans detained, with more than 150 of their own family members arrested. Veterans are not active duty. That is a different cohort, and I will not blur them together to inflate a single number. But put the two side by side and the shape is unmistakable. The enforcement is not avoiding the military community. It is moving through it, from the veterans who served to the families of the ones serving right now. So who benefits and who pays? The beneficiary is a set of enforcement totals, the headline numbers of people detained and removed, now padded by the relatives of active-duty troops. And the cost is specific, and it is a readiness cost as much as a human one. 6 active-duty families deported, at least 8 still held. A sergeant who says he cannot do his job. A soldier, in the same reporting, who halted a deployment when her husband's detention collapsed the family's childcare. And remember, these are floors, not ceilings. The review says more than 50 and more than 150, which means the real number sits somewhere above what anyone has yet confirmed. Here is the verdict, and it is narrow on purpose. I am not going to tell you every one of these detentions is unlawful, because an immigration record is exactly that, case by case. What I will tell you is what the record establishes. A decades-long practice of leaving military families out of removal was reversed. The people who used to run that practice call the reversal, in their own word, insane. And the families paying for it are attached to service members this country is currently asking to deploy. When a policy makes a soldier choose between the mission and his spouse, the country has not gotten tougher. It has gotten something it will have to answer for. Watch the floors because they only rise. I'm Madeline, and this is Pixel Politics.